It's going down.
Today we will talk about cultural differences with someone who has a lot of experience with it, but also someone who has a lot of experience with the expat life. She is born in Guatemala and she has lived in 5 different countries. Siska, thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, thank you. So you were born in Guatemala. Can you tell me a little bit more about that country? Because we as Belgian people, we don't know so much about that country.
So yes, I was born in Guatemala, and it's a small country in Central America, right under Mexico. It's actually smaller than Belgium.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. They speak Spanish, but also Latin Spanish, and they also speak lots of indigenous languages, but most of them are not recognized. Guatemala, as in its history, is where the Mayan used to live, and you can actually still see the Mayas today, but their children, of course, the grandchildren. Guatemala is divided by 2 different people. What we see more as the rich is seen as where the Spanish invaded into the New World and had children with the Mayas, which are more seen as the rich, and they have the less brown color and more white color of skin tone. And then we have the indigenous Guatemalans who live as their Mayan ancestors.
Okay, your family, are they also from Guatemala or?
My father's side is Guatemalan Guatemalan German, and my mother is Belgian.
So my big question actually then, which language you speak, or?
Well, I speak fluent Spanish, Dutch, and English, and I'm learning German.
Wow, okay. And at home, which language you speak, or?
We don't have one language, we actually mix the languages.
It's difficult for you, or it's easy?
No, it's the norm, it's easy.
It's the norm,
yeah.
Okay. And then you moved to Belgium.
Yes.
There I met you.
Yes.
You stayed here 5 years, I think.
6 years.
6 years in Belgium, and then you moved to Thailand. Did you have a lot of cultural shocks? Because you were born in Guatemala, then you moved to Belgium, and then you moved again to Thailand.
In Thailand, I did have a few cultural shocks. I think mostly the difference of little things between the Belgian culture and the Thai culture, really. The things, for example, like not showing the underside of your foot. It is like saying the F word in Thailand, and it's something very rude. Which, for example, if you're lying on a beach and, you're showing your feet, you have to remember to always point them. And it's like those little things that you have to remember. For example, even stepping on a coin with the face of the king on is one of the most disrespectful things you could do. And I think that was the biggest culture shock.
And how was the religion difference between Belgium and Thailand?
So here, I didn't really attend church or anything. There wasn't.
I think everyone.
I mean, when you have like your communion or something, you're kind of forced to attend church, but it's not like you wake up on a Saturday or Sunday and say, "Let's go to church." So in Thailand, they're Buddhist, and so they don't really go to church, but they go to temples, and you see a lot of Buddhas around, and so it's a little different, the religion. I mean, Buddhist and Catholic religion or Christian religion is very different. They believe in different things, and even Buddhism is actually not a religion, it's a belief. It's, you know, a lifestyle.
Yes.
So that's also very different. But I think one of the biggest difference would be the modesty. I remember here in elementary, we would all change, girls and guys. You know, we were also young, we would change in the same room, and then in Thailand, not even the girls would change in the same room. They would each go into their own stall, and that for me was something very weird.
I understand that.
Yeah, it's just something very different, because I never had a problem changing. Because I mean, you're 11, you don't really care about that, and then here they were all separate. Definitely because we have the same body, well, parts. So yeah, it was very different. I think that was the biggest shock in school, mostly. Yeah.
I think so. Now you are talking about school, but because you weren't in Thailand for holiday, you went to an international school. How was the attending in the international school there?
So I think the biggest difference in the international school definitely was the language difference. I attended 6 years of school in Dutch in a public school, and now I was in a private school taught fully in English, which I hardly knew a word of. Yeah, it was very hard. I remember my first day, I had to introduce myself, and I didn't understand what he was trying to make me do. I didn't understand that he was trying to make me say what my name was. They had to actually point and say their name, and it's one of those memories I still look at than when I speak a pretty fluent English today to when I suffered in my first day at school. Even everything was a little bit harder, you know, as the stereotype says, it's a little true. The Asian parents expect more of their children, so math was always a bit higher than what we were taught here, and so was every other subject. But it was also hard because, you know, we never really did science here in school, and then I had to learn everything. So yeah, but I think the hardest for school was the social aspect. You know, most of my interests, for example, in theater that I had here in Belgium, and well, I was too young in Guatemala, but mostly here, I had to do it in English, and I didn't speak enough English to even be able to have a normal conversation.
So you couldn't do it.
So I couldn't do any.
Yes.
For the first years, I couldn't do any interest that I really liked because I couldn't speak enough. But also the social life. I was in an American school, so it was mostly with American nationality and Asian Americans or Asian nationality, and it was a lot of cliques. You know, they stayed kind of in their popular groups and stuff. That it was a lot in middle school, so that which is here the 6th year, and the 1st and 2nd is middle school, and then that was most like the movies a bit, you know, with the Mean Girls, yeah. But that's just, it was really Thailand that had that, yeah.
But I think if I had those problems, I would be angry on, because you said earlier, I would be angry on my parents because you have to transfer to another country because the reason is the work of your parents. You were angry on your parents, or?
At first, I was definitely not. I was excited, you know. I grew up in a tri-national family, so visiting, you know, even my dad's side, I had to take a 20-hour plane ride. So I was always open to new adventures, plus I had already moved once. So I thought, you know, this was something nice and something different. But it was a shock once I got there because I really missed, you know, my friends, you, and of course, and then it was so different, you know, not being able to speak the language, and I didn't even know Thai, so I couldn't really go outside and speak to the Thai people there. They really only speak Thai, so I couldn't even speak English, so there was a big language barrier, and then the first 6 months I also couldn't speak English, so it was very hard to make friends and to be able to understand that here, you know, I was, because at the end you still think, oh, I'm gonna go back. So then after 6 months I was like, oh wow, okay, you know, I'm not gonna go back. I have to come back to Thailand. I don't live in Belgium anymore. And I think what really helped was, you know, once in the beginning when you're in a school like that, it's very hard to make friends because you can't really communicate with anybody, and I was in a very American school, so most kids didn't speak the languages I spoke. There were hardly any Europeans, and if there was, it was an Italian or, mostly Italians. There were nothing else. And I was very lucky, though, that I ended up going to a charity trip where I ended up making friends, and that's how, because of an American friend I had, that's actually how I was able to speak English, because it forced me to know the language, to able to be like, oh, do you want to hang out? Because
but now it's an advantage.
Now it's an advantage. Now I speak, perfect English practically, and fluent at least, and I can speak to practically, anybody. But back then it was a struggle having, the accent, and then not being able to even say like, do you want to go have lunch? I couldn't even say that. So luckily I'm auditive, so I learned very quickly. I actually even got a certificate for it that I learned, that they wrote down as like quickest English learner in that year, because it was so fast, because I wanted to learn it. I mean, being somewhere every day where you can't communicate with people, you have to. You're forced to. So
okay guys, I think this is enough, but it's not the end. I will also ask her life in Sweden, but think this is for next time. I really thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I see you next time. Thank you very much.